This podcast is brought to you by the Average Intelligence Podcast and by Revival, Book 1 of the Unveiled book series.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Your Broadway World podcast. Today, we're joined by Jake.
For some reason, she still wants to hear my opinion on things.
I know, I'm not that smart, apparently.
Every now and again, I make a point.
Yeah, but this is a point we could probably both agree on.
I was kind of proud at your reaction because you were like, yeah, it's exactly what you said it was. And I'm like, cool. That means I described it as best I could. Just, would you stop moving my camera? Anywho, I was about to go into it. As someone who detests the Disney live action remakes, I had a really tough time trying to decide if I thought this movie was. It's not great, but is it bad? I still like there are certainly elements of it that are bad, but unlike a lot of the other live action remakes, there are elements that are good. But the good elements were done better in the original. I think I told you, I said, okay, if the original animated Lilo and Stitch was an 8, this is a weak 6.
Yeah.
Like, it's not horrible, but it doesn't do anything. I think the best way I can describe it is this movie doesn't do anything that adds to the original. And it does a few things that kind of
take away from it.
That's the thing, though. They don't take away, but it's almost as if like this movie really feels like a studio paint by color. It's like, okay, yes, it's a picture of Lilo and Stitch, but it was already mapped out and fill in the blank kind of thing. It didn't have it had no heart, it had no soul. It tried, and this is the problem with a lot of people say, well, you can't judge it based on the original. When it's a copy remake, you absolutely can. Because I agree, there are adaptations, and there's a difference between an adaptation. This is a remake.
Yeah.
They remake. This is not Lilo and Stitch from a different angle, which honestly they probably should have done. I don't know how you could, but smarter people than me could figure it out. But this is exactly what the new How to Train Your Dragon is going to be, in my opinion. It's almost a shot for shot remake. Like there are literally lines of dialogue that are just copied. I'm kind of surprised they had the original voice, which I'll get to that in a second. I'm kind of surprised they had the original voice actor reprise his role of Stitch to record new lines because they literally could have just taken the audio from the original. It sounds the same. And a lot of it's line by line redo. So save some money and just rip your own audio. I mean, that sounds cynical, but I mean, let's be honest. What are we doing here?
I was very unimpressed with like when he says like it was in the beginning where he's like where Stitch was in that like containment unit and he's like basically swears, but it wasn't as good as it was in the original.
Because it's a joke you've heard before.
Yeah.
In the original, that's the thing, is everything good about this movie was done in the original. So it's not new. It's something, because in order for you to have any appeal to go see this movie, you've seen the original. If you haven't, if you're unfamiliar with the original, you watch the trailer for this movie and be completely disinterested. I guarantee you.
I saw somewhere someone said, did Stitch basically swear when you said Visa not Alquista?
Haley, this is a family podcast.
I'm like, whoa, I did not
Whoa,
realize that.
whoa. See, that's a joke that to me, they could have, it's the same joke, don't get me wrong, but they could have done it a different way to have a slightly different reaction, make it a little bit more funny in 2025, because comedy was different. Comedy was different in 2002. A lot of things were different in 2002. So I guess with that being said, what do you want to talk about first?
Oh,
The bad or the ugly?
there's so there's so much I want to talk about. Okay, well, let's start off with Jumba and Pleakley and what's wrong with them.
I have a question.
Yes.
And forgive me, I don't have Disney Plus anymore. Otherwise, I would have gone. But I've seen the original multiple times, but I can't remember. Was Jumba like a villain? I didn't think so.
He started off, but then he like had the character arc.
Yeah, but in this movie, spoiler alert, in this movie, he is totally the villain.
Yeah.
Which this is going to sound weird coming from me because I usually criticize Disney when they don't have a villain. Lilo and Stitch is one of those rare stories where a villain is really not necessary because this is not a good versus evil story. Encanto tried to do what the original Lilo and Stitch did, and it told a story about family with fantastical elements. Now, for some reason, probably because writers in Hollywood are talentless hacks for the most part, they just couldn't recapture that sort of spirit. I don't know why, because Encanto had everything. Encanto had all the tools, and somehow they just couldn't. Like, I guess there's a lot of people that like it and say like, "Oh yeah," but to me, it felt pretty weak because it was relative, like it was high stakes for Maribel, but the whole movie is kind of relatively low stakes, and that's true for Lilo and Stitch too.
Yeah.
It's high stakes for Lilo and Stitch and Nani, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And I can't put my finger on it. There's just something about the way they do it in the original Lilo and Stitch that makes it work, that this remake and a movie like Encanto just couldn't pull it off. I don't.
Mm-hmm. Not just that, but the fact that they had to get rid of Gantu and then make Jumba the villain, it just didn't make sense.
Well, and that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a very good point. Gantu served the role of the antagonist, and he's not a villain, but he's the antagonist to Stitch's freedom, right?
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly in the original, Gantu is set. Is it Gantu? It's Gantu, right?
I think it's Gantu.
Gantu.
Yeah.
The shark-looking dude. Yeah.
The shark-looking dude.
Yeah. Jaws is sent to recapture Stitch, right? And then I can't remember in the original what Pleakley's role was, but I know he goes with Jumba to try to. They're trying to recapture him, but so that they can. I can't remember.
They all three of them are trying to capture him in different ways, and it's just like,
yeah, but they're not necessarily on the same team. I mean, they kind of are and they're kind of are, and that's where a lot of the comedy in the first one ensues. Yeah, but Jumba being a villain was really weird, and I think there's two main reasons for that. One, he's extremely non-threatening just in his design, and also Zach Galifianakis phoned this performance in so horribly. Like, it was bad, and I'm biased. I don't like Zach Galifianakis, but I will admit,
I don't either.
I've seen him act before, and this was not it. He was like, I don't, and I read somewhere that he originally, I forget who he originally, I think he wanted to play Pleakley.
Yeah.
Originally. And which that would have been horrendous, but they cast somebody else, and then I guess the director went back to him and said, "Do you want to play Goomba?" And I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he was like, "I don't care. How could I possibly, like, what can I possibly do to get into these characters?" And I'm like, well, with that attitude, now I understand why. I mean, this performance was as flat as,
Yep.
I mean, it was just not. It was bad. It was bad all around.
And plus, in the original, and this is just me nitpicking, but like the original Jumba had like a Russian kind of accent, and that's what made it.
Yeah, and it was so weird to me because yeah. How do I want to say it? Like in the original, yes, Jumbo was an antagonist to Stitch's freedom and all, but it was coming from a not necessarily a good place, but it wasn't so nefarious.
Yeah.
Like in this one, he was like bored, like he was the villain in a story that really doesn't need a villain. And plus, is he dead? Like, I don't know what happened to him. Like he's presumably dead because again, spoiler alert, I mean, he's in the ocean somewhere and they weren't exactly close to shore. So yeah,
maybe drown.
I guess. Which, oh god, don't get me. Drowning is the laws of physics, and I get it. It's a fantasy story, but at the same time, the laws of physics are defied for plot necessity so many times in this movie. It's infuriating. It's literally infuriating, and people do things that no person of sound mind would do, but they do it in this movie because they need to get to the next scene. And that is what is killing modern movies today is writers don't know how to get from story beat to story beat in a way that makes sense in universe that a reasonable person would do. They just get to the next. It's like the South Park guys all the time say, if you're writing a story and you have your beats in between B, A, and B, you go, and then you're completely fucked. It needs to be because and or therefore. In the context of Lilo and Stitch, like because Stitch is on the run, which they do this in the live action movie, he needs to hide. He's in an animal shelter. He sees the poster. Therefore, he makes himself as dog-like as possible to appeal to Lilo so that he can, because he knows that humans can't be targeted and therefore he'll be protected. But there are so many elements in this so many parts of this movie that are, because that's an example of a good one. There are so many parts of this movie that are and then and it's just
Not to mention when Lilo first spots Stitch in that shelter. Okay, this is me being nitpicky again. I'm sorry, but she did not scream when she saw Stitch. She did not scream and run toward him. And this is me being
in
nitpicky.
the original.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Right? Yeah, and I'm trying to give some sort of cohesion to this, but as we're talking, I just keep thinking of other things. So another issue this movie has, and to be fair, even if this movie was excellent, it would still fail in this part because it's the nature of live action versus animation. Whenever you're doing a live action version of an animated film, you will never be able to convey the same level of emotion, which is always my point for why bother. You know why the live action Lion King felt like it was flat? It's because the animals were photorealistic. And that means lions can't actually express emotion on their faces. So and even when an actor's doing a good job, it doesn't emote on the face. So even then it seems like they're hamming it up.
Right, exactly.
Like,
Ergo.
they can't.
Yeah, exactly. Ergo, it was emotionless and heartless.
Well, and what I mean is, like, there are some, to sing the movie's praises, there are some moments that have real, genuinely good, well-acted emotion, but it still falls short of the animated movie because, okay, 80% of communication between human beings is nonverbal, and of that 80%, I think it's something like 60% are in the eyes. That's why, particularly with whenever you're talking animation, typically your villains have small eyes and your protagonists have big eyes because you need to see their emotions.
Yeah.
That's why, in the original, which actually Lilo and Stitch is a bit of an outlier because in the scheme of things, their eyes are kind of small, but it fits in that Disney style. Like, we were just, Bill Farmer on a Goofy movie is a great example of this. Big, giant eyes. Yeah. So you can see the really subtle nuances of emotion without dialogue. You don't need to say things because the eyes are telling you exactly what's going on. In a live action movie, it's not impossible, But compared to what you can do in animation, it's just not going to be as expressive, or very rarely, because some actors just have the ability to convey in their face exception, but that's pretty rare. And that seems to be, like when we see it in a real person, we notice it big time, because it's like, oh, that's different. That's not what that's not what we typically see. In animation, it's like that's why you animate, other than fantastical elements and stuff like that. Stitch is the only exception in this movie because he's animated. And he said the only thing that's good in this movie from start to finish throughout the whole thing is Stitch. But again, it's just the same thing from the first one.
Yeah, but Stitch is cute, though.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not, they didn't do anything new other than making him quasi, I'm not going to say photorealistic, because he still looks very much animated.
Yeah.
But a little more realistic and textured looking. That's it. It's the same character. It's the same design. It's the same everything. And many times it's the same dialogue.
Yeah.
So again, I say, why not just watch the original?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, if you want your Lilo and Stitch fix, or I don't know, make a sequel, which I know they did, but make another one.
Yeah.
With some money. Like, it's Disney.
Yeah.
You can animate. You can still animate. I know you can. There's rumors that they're bringing 2D animation back, and I really hope that's true.
Yeah, I heard that rumor too, and I really want it. I really want that.
I really want it, because I say a lot of especially the non-Pixar, which now they're all, because now it's Disney Pixar, but there was a time, boys and girls, when Disney and Pixar worked together, but they weren't the same studio.
Yeah.
And Disney had a period, what was that, a solid 5 to 8 years, where they were just trying to be Pixar, but they weren't as good as Pixar, so everything and I'm not going to say it sucked, but compared to Pixar, it sucked. And it was like, you had your movies like Bolt and Home on the Range, and it was
like Bolt for some reason.
No, because it's just not. It's not Pixar, but it's trying to be Pixar.
Yeah, I didn't like it. It's not. It's not to say anything bad about Miley Cyrus being Penny. Like, not that.
No. And that's sort of the frustrating thing, because oftentimes when I'm talking about Disney, you'll hear me say something to the effect of like, it's a good movie, it's just a bad Disney movie, because the bar for Disney is so high. And I think I've said this on Spur of the Moment before. I'm like, yeah, that's like a DreamWorks. That's like a DreamWorks A.
Yeah.
And I'm not cutting up DreamWorks, but that's like a DreamWorks A and a Disney C, just because they're different studios. They do different things. They do different things well, but they do different things.
I'll cut up DreamWorks. They're ruining Shrek 5. Shrek 5 looks just, I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose one could make the case that when it's your studio, you can ruin your projects if you want to, but
you look terrible. I like the old animation better.
Well, you know what, though? I'm wondering if maybe, I'm not going to say it wasn't finished, but they might go back and tweak it like they did with Sonic.
Like, did you see how Donkey looked? What's wrong with Donkey?
I've never, and it's frustrating because I'm often frustrated with, okay, so this is a hell of a segue for you, but it proves my point perfectly. So Star Trek does this all the time, and it really annoys me as a massive Star Trek fan, is whenever we get a new thing, but it's in the same universe, they have to redesign things. Now, sometimes it's good. Most of the time, it's like, why? Not to say that the design is bad, but this thing doesn't look like the thing that we had before, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And in the 90s, they sort of retconned away, that they reasoned away, because you're going from, the Klingons are a good example of this, because in the 1960s, you just had guys wearing really, really dark makeup and like Fu Manchu mustaches. Like, that was the extent of the alienness. But obviously, as time goes on, prosthetics get better. And the idea of what a Klingon is now canonized. And in universe, they explain a reason why there was that change or that perceived change.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to the new series and they're changing the way aliens look, but it's in the same timeline as when we originally saw them. And it's like, no, there's no reason why because these are the same people.
Yeah.
Not even the same race, the same people. The example I'm going to point to is in the original pilot for Star Trek, there's a race called the Telosians. Justin calls them big heads because that's what they are. But they achieved it with 1960s makeup. So there's no reason that you can't replicate that. And I think this episode was in 2020, in or around that time. But they look completely different. These are the same individual people. It doesn't make. Why do we always need to change things that work? I get it if it sucks, but like, why do we always feel the need to change things? Like, if it works, it works, which thankfully they did with Stitch. They just kept the original design and didn't change it up, which is good. I think somebody should have been fired for Pleakley because that was just sad.
That was sad.
That was just sad. Like,
I have a few things to say about Pleakley. One being, I don't know if you've seen this, where like people were like saying like, why didn't you put him in a dress? And then Disney came out and said, well, we tried to put him in the dress.
It's funny because you mentioned that to me, and I have two ideas that are probably true as to why. I think it was one, they didn't want to. It all comes down to not wanting to displease when it comes to the trans community, whether it be the trans community themselves or people perceiving as Disney making a woke statement, which would have been ludicrous because, as you pointed out, they do it in the original movie.
Yeah.
So my best guess is Disney didn't want to come off as being transphobic, but I again, that's a byproduct of the overly PC culture that we're in now, because it's like, you can't do anything and not offend someone. Someone's going to be somebody's going to be offended that Stitch talks like this, because they're going to say, "Oh, that." I'm sure there's some medical disability out there that causes you to have a super high pitched voice like that, and somebody out there is going to be offended by that.
Yeah.
Fuck off. That's how Stitch talks. Like,
he is an alien. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess where it comes down to is like and it's gotten so bad today, is like everybody's so afraid of offending the smallest common denominator that it's like you're afraid to do anything. And I mean, because I've read that even though from what I understand, and I'm not even going to pretend to be an expert on representation or Hawaiian culture, but I'm given to understand that the representation of this movie is fairly good.
Yeah.
From what I can tell. And yet there are still going to be people out there that feel like it wasn't enough. And that might be true. But sometimes the beauty's in the attempt. Like at least you're trying, you're making an effort.
Yeah.
At the very least.
What bothers me though is like some of my friends were like, I liked it. Like they made it more for like what happens in real life. I'm like, what happens in real life? The fucking blue alien.
That's kind of a weird standard.
Yeah.
Actually, a particle weapon like of that nature would actually make a smaller hole. I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. It's a movie about a blue alien that. Okay, so that's one thing that I don't think anyone's talking about. Is part of one really big aspect of the original was the Elvis stuff.
Yeah.
It's barely in the movie.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was wondering.
It's barely there. And I'm just kind of like, and actually, here's something that people should be offended by. And I'm not like a big Elvis fan, but I get it, right? And I respect his contributions to music and culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
They re-recorded Hunka Hunka Burnin' Love.
And didn't they
for the end credits?
Yeah, and they re-recorded Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride too.
Well, that was an original song, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Or was it? Well, okay, they can do that, but
yeah,
like Elvis? Really?
yeah. That's
Like
what I thought.
he's the king. You already paid for the song.
Mm.
Why go to the expense of re-recording it when it's fine? There's nothing wrong with the original song. And like I said, they do the gag with his nail on the record, but they don't have the moment where Stitch is they do in the credits, but
Yeah.
like Elvis is a big part of Lilo in that
Mm.
movie, and it's just barely there. And another thing that's barely there is David.
Thank you. I was wondering, like, also, I don't like the actor to play David.
No, the casting in this movie was,
Problematic.
I'm not going to say problematic. I'm just going to say bad. Like,
Bad.
generally speaking, it's nobody really jumped off the screen to me. And
No.
when it's all the actors, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that was the director.
Mm.
Because when no actor,
Am I confusing the guy that played Cobra Bubbles? Was he the original voice for Cobra?
I don't believe he was. And also that guy is about 30 years too old to be playing Cobra Bubbles.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, wow. I don't believe that guy.
Yeah.
I don't believe the dude in live action would run anywhere.
Yeah.
And also, why is okay? So, and I believe me, it's not lost on me that we're talking about a remake of a cartoon here. But logic does not exist in this movie because, okay, the end of the spoiler alert, the end of the movie has Lilo in the being fostered by their neighbor, who the neighbor lady wasn't in the original.
Mm-hmm.
But Lilo's living in their house, their same house after it was rebuilt,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently Bubbles lives in the house with Pleakley.
That's what I didn't understand.
Why?
I was watching that ending. I was like, what's he doing there?
Yeah, why is he there? And why is it like, because the way he behaves, this is not a visit. Like, he's like checking to make sure that she's in bed, and he makes reference to the fact that this is at least a reasonably common occurrence. So it's like, what? Why? This raises a lot of red flags for a government employee.
And what's up with the portal that Lilo blasts through the wall, so then Nani jumps through it?
Okay, so here's the thing. The ending to this movie sucks.
Yeah.
But for different reasons than a lot of people are saying, because some people are defending this movie. Okay, the Ohana bit.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good segue into my tangent about my rant about Nani's character in this movie. Nani in the original is awesome. She's clearly young, but she's mature. She had to mature quickly. In this movie, it's implied that their parents died a lot more recently than in the first one, right?
Yeah.
Which I guess sort of would logically explain Nani's ineptitude, but it's kind of to a pretty ridiculous level. Like, one of the stipulations for Nani to keep Lilo in her custody is, one of the things she has to do is file for health insurance for the both of them. That's a phone call. In their situation, that paperwork would be done, and probably through the social worker, actually. I'm not an expert on that.
2 weeks ago. I made that call 2 weeks ago.
I mean, that is not like, obviously they're going to get, I don't know how it is in Hawaii, whether they would get state or federal like insurance, but they'd get one or the other. Like, that family situation there is literally Medicaid exists for that exact situation.
Yeah.
Like, Lilo at minimum would automatically be covered under Medicaid, and Nani, probably based on income, would too, and the fact that she has a 6-year-old dependent, right? So the fact that, like, I'm sorry, that social worker must suck at her job, because Like, it's a phone call that a social worker can help make, like, there.
I did enjoy, though, that the social worker was the original voice of Nani.
I did like that. Yeah, that was a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. Because at first I was wondering, I'm like, who's this? Who's this lady? And I'm like, oh, okay. They wanted to give Nani's original voice actor role, so I get it. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any problems with that. Also, another casting shout out since you already went there. Jason Scott Lee, one of I'm always happy to see Jason Scott Lee. And actually, when I said that every actor was bad, I take that back because Jason Scott Lee is on screen for maybe 4 minutes and has some of the best acting in the movie.
Tutu, the one that played Tutu was the Miss Hawagasa, whatever her name is, the little old lady.
Yeah. That's cool. No, but and here's, speaking of Jason Scott Lee, here's a fun Easter egg fact for you. There are two, and I have to word this carefully so that people don't correct me in the comments. There are two actors in this movie that have had roles in Bruce Lee related films, not with Bruce Lee, obviously, but Jason Scott Lee played Bruce in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, which I believe came out in 1993. It's a really good movie, actually. Even if you're not a Bruce Lee fan, it's just a really good movie. And Jason Scott Lee kills it as Bruce. Like, even the fight scenes that he does, like, he's great. Made me a fan. And also he played Mowgli in the live action Jungle Book from the 90s, not the Abomination that well, technically they're both abominations, but for very different reasons.
Not the Abomination that just recently came out like a couple years ago.
Not Christopher Walken, King Louis. Different.
That was bad. Really bad.
They're both really bad, but for very different reasons. And then the guy who played Pleakley's human form was the white savior in what was that movie? It was the one. It was a very bad movie. It was the one where he's the white savior in the movie that tells the story of the legendary fight between Bruce Lee and Wong Jack Man, and turns it into a really weird, like, we're gonna fight the Chinese triad story that never happened, would never have happened in them. It's debatable as to whether or not even the fight happened. Like, most credible accounts just say that Bruce Lee basically hit him once and then he ran away.
Yeah.
But
he played the prince in he played Rapunzel's prince in Into the Woods.
Oh, okay. I want to say, yeah, I did see the live action Into the Woods. I remember not liking it.
I loved it, except for James Corden. I didn't like him.
I hate that guy.
I don't like him either.
Here's the funny thing about James Corden. All right, and this, every now and again, I seem to have a gift. I can just see somebody and be like, "Oh, he's a fucking asshole," and I can't tell you why. But eventually, the truth comes out, and that's the first time I saw that pompous fuck, I was like, "Oh, he's a dick."
First time you see him, he's a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, this guy is a fucking piece of work." And turns out I was right. Why did Craig Ferguson have to leave that show? It was perfect. It was perfect with him. Why? What else are you going to do, Craig? I mean, I know you do stand up because you're good at what you do, but damn it, late night needed you, and you left.
I mean, we still have Late Night with Jimmy Fallon.
Okay, I don't like Jimmy Fallon. I don't hate Jimmy Fallon, but I don't really like Jimmy Fallon. But he's certainly better than James Corden.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. I'll definitely give him that. Yeah, there's nobody on late night right now that I care to watch, so.
We choose to go to the moon and investigate and do the other things. Weird.
You know, someone said that frickin' Panera's Pepsi's taste funny.
Better.
No, I mean,
What?
That was good. And this is another tangent, but I just found this out. Conan O'Brien, he's gonna be in the new Toy Story.
Hey, Susie playing.
I don't remember, but I just saw a post that he's gonna be in the new Toy Story as a toy.
I remember having like a really like I love it when movies cast really big names and not necessarily obscure roles, but like roles that you wouldn't think. Like I remember when I heard that Keanu Reeves was Duke Kaboom.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's so awesome. I love it.
he was good.
I know you would have never known that it was Keanu Reeves, but yeah, I love that. That's so funny to me when they do that.
I know. I was watching. I was like, okay, go Keanu. All right.
I think probably the funniest instance of that was when George Clooney, and this is when George Clooney was hot too. Like, I mean, he's still famous, but like this would have been, I think this was in the late '90s, late '90s or very early 2000s, or maybe the year 2000. Like this is like ER George Clooney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like post Batman ER, like he's on top of the world, and he does a guest star role on South Park as a dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious.
Speaking of George Clooney, and then we'll get back to Lilo and Stitch, guys. On June 7th at 7, I think, on CNN, they're doing a live broadcast of his play, Good Night and Good Luck,
Oh, okay, very cool.
on CNN.
Kind of an odd choice, but whatever.
Kind of an odd choice, I know. I said the exact same thing.
Like really, CNN. All right, well, stranger things have happened. James Corden got a job, so you know, sometimes the universe just doesn't make sense.
I wonder what that pompous fuck is doing now.
I don't know. Hopefully, nothing. Hopefully, no. I feel like I heard that he was going to be in a movie or something, but I don't remember. I try to forget that he exists whenever possible. Like I don't wish. Well, I mean, I don't wish like grave ill. I just hope that I never see him on television or screen ever again. But I don't wish him necessarily ill will. But just if I don't, out of sight, out of mind. So going back to my
back to
Nani.
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, so going back to my Nani tangent. Nani in this movie seems like extremely immature. Maybe immature is not the right word. Incapable. Like she can't seem to do anything really.
Like I wouldn't have been nice. I think she was stupid.
Oh, okay, yeah. So but I mean, I guess I'm trying to give it the best because I think they were intentionally doing it, but I don't think it translated the way they wanted it to. I think they were trying to make it seem like she was very young, which she was, because I think in the movie it's implied she's only like 18 or 19 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very young. Very inexperienced, doesn't quite know. And like I said before, it's also implied that their parents died recently. So I guess in the context of this movie, it kind of sort of makes sense. I just prefer the portrayal of Nani as a very capable person and parental figure who needs some help, but overall is at least capable of doing this thing given the circumstances. I just preferred that. Now, the bad part, though, going back to the portal thing. So Ohana is the core of Lilo and Stitch as a story. It's about family. And they get very specific in the movie on purpose. Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
That's the emotional core of this story.
Yes.
Now, Disney, and it's not just Lilo and Stitch. Moana did this, and this is a scene that I seem to be the only one who has a problem with it, but I will regurgitate it once more. Because we talked about this when we were talking about Moana 2.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene in Moana, the first one, where Moana's like, it's rough. And then Ghost Grandma goes up and basically tells her, like, sorry we put all this on you, kid. You can just give up if you want to. It's all good. And it's like, wait. No, she can't, because if she gives up, you're all going to die.
You're all
So,
gonna starve to death.
yeah, so it's like, no, actually, you can't give up because you're the only one who can do this. Now, hold on to that thought before you yell at me, because I understand. I understand what the studio was trying to do, because today's view, and not that this is wrong, but real life and narrative storytelling are not the same thing. In the real world, I can understand that thinking. But this is a fictional story that is trying to convey a life lesson, a moral, an ideal that this is why humans tell stories. These are ideals that we try to live up to, but we never will because we suck. But we try, right? But if you, within the confines of your fictional story, if you don't have a sense of duty with the highest of the high ideal in a fictional story, what the hell are we going to do in real life? Like for the Christians out there, right? What if at the 11th hour, God listened to Jesus in the garden and was like, you know what, kid? Yeah, you're off the hook. Like, no, that's a problem. That's a really big problem. And like, I know that in the context of that story, Jesus does go willingly, but like, this is probably not the best example, but you get what I'm saying. Like, when characters are courageous, they are often courageous in the story because they have a sense of duty to the people that they love or their society or whatever their goal is. They feel a sense of duty that is bigger than they are. And that's important. Okay. And in the context of Lilo and Stitch, yes, Nani's life would be much easier in the original if she wasn't the sole parental figure for Lilo. But because as a family, they believe in Ohana, she does not have a moral choice in the matter. Because were she to do that, were she to give up custody of Lilo in the original, then she would be spitting in the face of what they believe in. Yeah, and it's admirable for sure. But Nani does not have a choice in the context of the story. Now she's picking up this burden willingly, which is great. That's what you should do. But the fact that she's picking up willingly doesn't make it any less of a duty. It just means that she recognizes that and says, well, whether I like it or not, I have to do it. And it helps that I want to do it because Lilo is my sister and I love her and we have literally no one else. But in this movie, Nani gets an out and she takes it. Now, there's an important thing, which you haven't seen the movie and only been reading things online. This is very important. Part of the problem is that Nani has hospital bills oh God. I'm sitting in the theater when the social worker is explaining this, and I'm like, that's not how this works. Just by giving up custody of Lilo, the state doesn't automatically come in and pay her medical bills. That's not how this works. The medical bills are still due.
That's what confused me. I was like, that I don't feel like that's how it works.
That's not how this works. And it's a real catch-22 for me because again, this goes back to real world versus fictional stories, right? In the real world, that solution is probably for the best because Nani is incapable of doing it alone. And by her going to college, she can later, so Lilo would only be 10, theoretically, when Nani, well, maybe more because she might get a doctor. I don't know. Lilo would be 10 to 14 when Nani is finished with school and theoretically has an incredibly well-paying career. But now I think I saw that Nani was going to San Diego to study marine biology.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Hawaii has colleges. And I don't know there probably aren't that many places that are much better to study marine biology than a fucking island.
That was my whole issue was like, you're in fucking Hawaii, bitch.
I mean, maybe. Here's the thing: San Diego probably has a really, really good. I don't know, but I'm sure that universities in California have stellar marine biology programs.
But
One
you're
would
in
think
Hawaii, bitch.
I was
Use
going to say
it.
one would think Hawaii would too. And
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: if you can study marine biology in Ohio, I think you're good in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I think you're good. You know, um, but they put that little portal gun in to give themselves an out from people criticizing them about Nani effectively abandoning Lilo because now she has a portal gun and she can use it whenever she wants to see Lilo. However, my brain, and this is where logic is non-existence, if Nani has a portal gun where she can teleport to anywhere on the planet, she can live at home and portal to school. She doesn't need a dorm room. She can just portal to her classes.
Oh my God. Why didn't I notice that?
Nani, you're in college. Use your brain.
She's like the Scarecrow. She has no brain.
Well, and not only that, okay, Nani, you need money? You got a portal gun. Start a delivery company. Yeah, we'll get that package to the other side of the world in 5 minutes. $500. We'll do it right now. Drop it off. It'll be in Tokyo in 5 minutes. But like I said, in the real world, that's actually it's almost too neatly tied up. Because presumably in the first one, the reason Nani doesn't do something like that is because there's literally no one that can help with Lilo, right?
Yeah.
Well, in this movie, the neighbor lady's there from the beginning, and when she says it's like, "Hey, you need anything, let me know," I'm like, "Well, some fucking money would be nice," but I guess that doesn't. I guess money's off the table. Which, to be fair, money usually is off the table. It's usually the only thing that's off the table. Which I get it, and neither movie really touches on this, but the first one touches on it a little bit more. Is the condition of people that actually live in Hawaii? They live there, not just touristy. You know, it's a very poor place. It is, unfortunately. Now, having never been to Hawaii, but only reading, I think there's probably a lot of corruption there, but I can't tell you the reason why. Maybe it is exploitation, maybe it's government corruption, maybe it's capital corruption, meaning business corruption. There is the fact that resources are limited by virtue of it being an island. So everything, not everything, but a lot of stuff would have to be imported, which adds to the cost. Just shipping alone would be an issue. But at the same time, Hawaii brings in a shit ton of money in tourism, which is basically, the way I understand it, it's basically all they have. So as far as industry goes, which makes sense. I've heard it's one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. I just haven't been there. The first movie kind of, they don't come out and say it, but they kind of allude to it. Their house is actually quite nice.
Yeah.
Like I imagine that's what somebody in Los Angeles would assume that a poor person's house would look like, but it's probably 3 times the size it should be.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, the Friends apartments dilemma. It's like these giant apartments in Manhattan, and it's just like, no. I mean, don't get me wrong, they exist, but somebody on that show was unemployed for a stint, and they were able to afford it. So yeah, it's kind of like, no. Which, to be fair, How I Met Your Mother had the same kind of thing too, but at least like one was an architect and one was a lawyer, and the other one was like in banking. So at least that kind of made a little more sense. But anyway, that's a tangent. But yeah, to summarize Nani in this movie, I would just say inept.
There's a thing that bothers me too with Nani, because in the original cartoon, you know, when Nani got fired from her job, she didn't, like, you know, get mad at Lilo and blame Lilo and all that stuff. She made that little joke, but in this one, she gets like mad at Lilo and it's kind of a bitch.
No, and I'll be honest, I kind of get it, because I'm not going to lie. During that scene, I had like major like internal anxiety. I'm just like, oh no. But I can't remember exactly. It was Stitch in the first one, right?
Yeah.
Remind me what happened, because I know this movie took it a different way, and basically it was Lilo's fault.
Yeah.
Essentially.
I cannot remember
I can't
very
remember.
much.
Yeah, I
But
can't remember exactly what happened, but in this one, it is basically Lilo's fault.
I just remember in the original, she didn't go straight to like being mad at her and like, she like made like little jokes to Lilo, like, oh,
Yeah.
I had to quit because he was part of the Legion of the Undead.
Yeah. 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 So Nani's even trying to protect Lilo emotionally. Whereas
Yeah.
in this movie, it's like again, it's frustrating because in context of the live action movie, I get it.
Yeah.
But everything in this movie is kind of pointing out how like Nani is actually not cut out for this,
Yeah.
which flies in the face of the Ohana point. Like if this were a different story, it would probably make a lot more sense, but it's not. This is Lilo and Stitch,
Yeah.
you know? And that's whenever I judge a movie like this, whether it be a remake or something like in the MCU that's part of like a series of films, I I try to imagine the movie, all the story beats being the same, but take out the known elements. So in this case, if this was a story about a girl finding an alien that wasn't named Stitch and wasn't based on a movie, would this be a good movie? And ironically, I think I would have received it better than it being a remake of Lilo and Stitch, which is usually not the case. Usually I say something the opposite of like, well, yeah, like I say this with the Star Wars movies. I'm like, well, yeah, if this wasn't Star Wars, this would suck because it's relying on your knowledge and fandom of Star Wars or the MCU or something about that. But this movie, I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? If this weren't Lilo and Stitch, I mean, this would be fine. It wouldn't be great, but it would be fine. This reminds me of like a Blockbuster rental back way back in the 90s when you rented the VHS tapes and DVDs were new. Sadly, I remember when DVDs were new. It's a dark time. Actually, it wasn't. It was kind of awesome back then. I kind of miss it. It was better. Is it like back then, like you could go to the Blockbuster and like, or I don't think Blockbuster did this, but I think Movie Gallery did this. Like some of your rentals were only 50 cents. So you could afford to take a chance on a movie. And like if it sucked, who cares? You were out 50 cents. But like in this economy, you don't want to waste $5. You want to be sure you're going to like the movie. And don't even get me started on going to the theater. Like I don't even want to take a chance on a movie anymore. Like the trailer has to really make me want to see it before I know I'm going to do a podcast.
Sorry.
No, actually, this one's not your fault. This was my fiance very subtly shared a meme on Facebook with just a picture of original Stitch, saying like waiting for him to ask me to go see Lilo and Stitch, and I'm like, ah, damn it, I have to go see Lilo and Stitch now. As Justin would say, I had always intended to watch this on Disney Plus as God intended, but actually, I never intended to watch this.
And I told my mother, I was like, after the movie, I leaned over to my mom. I was like, I just fucking wish they would stop.
See, okay, and this is ironic because of the Disney live action remakes, this one's near the top.
Yeah.
But the top of that list is still shit.
Yeah.
Like now, I've not seen. I've heard the live action Cinderella remake was pretty good, but I've not seen it. So for me, this one's at the top because it wasn't offensive. At least it wasn't. Well, it was mildly offensive, but not like the other ones. Like not to the point where this movie still had a little bit of the spirit of the original, and Disney wasn't going out of its way to apologize for anything they'd done previously. So they added a lot of unnecessary things, but hey,
I mean, I was still traumatized by Snow White, so I was kind of still taken out of it. So,
to be fair, Snow White set the bar so low that I walked out of this one being like, you know what? It wasn't complete shit. So that's a win. That's a win in my book, Disney. Good job. No, it just had no soul.
No.
Like I think that was the most frustrating thing is everything just kind of felt like it's just like I told you, I'm like, it exists. It's there. It's not awful, but it's not good. Like it just kind of exists. it's a thing that happened and will be forgotten.
Yeah.
It will be forgotten very quickly.
It's not like Ohana. It's not like Ohana.
I mean, here's the thing. People still get Ohana and Lilo or Stitch tattoos because the first one was extremely good and
Yeah.
had something to say. This movie had nothing to say that the original didn't already say, and it really kind of spits at the original as like this movie is basically subconsciously trying to tell you not to take the concept so seriously. And the movie's kind of selfish. I'm just gonna say it, the movie's kind of selfish. Now, it's a selfishness that I can kind of understand. Again, this goes back to fiction versus real life. In real life, I can kind of understand it because at the end of it all, there's a net benefit for basically everyone involved, Lilo included. But in the context of the message that the fictional story is trying to tell you, and David is the element in the first one that kind of proves Nani wrong because he's trying to be now. Granted, I mean he's not trying to like move in overnight or anything, although he probably would. But you know what I'm saying? Like he's just trying to be in Nani's life, and that's why I said this was very frustrating for all you David fans because David's just not in this movie. He's furniture. He's there, but not. He's kind of like a lamp. He's in the room. Like, I mean, yeah, he's there, but not like in the first one. The first one, David is actively trying to help Nani, actively trying to be with Nani, not necessarily to his benefit all the time, but just because he wants to help her. David's a real good dude in the original movie. In this movie, I don't know because he's just not doing anything.
It's not there.
It's It's just with a side of And
Watch the original movie and watch the TV show. Just don't.
I heard
watch
the
this.
TV. I heard the TV show was good. Actually, I've not seen it.
It was really good.
I've not seen it, but it's really good. So, and then here's an element that people might not have thought about. Right? There's a problem with Lilo in this movie, and I know some of you are going, "Hear me out." So they do the bit at the beginning where Lilo is snorkeling down to give the sandwich to what's the fish's name? I forget.
Pudge.
Pudge. That's right. Yeah, and she has the line, "Pudge controls the weather." That's it.
Yeah.
They don't do anything else with it. That's a huge part of the original movie.
Yeah.
And reveals a lot about Lilo's character and how she sees the world. Lilo feels guilty. Lilo thinks, and she's through the whole movie in the original, Lilo is carrying the trauma, thinking that she indirectly killed her parents because she didn't feed Pudge one day. Or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
And the fact, like, I love that whole entire line of like, oh, we were out of peanut butter, so I had to go to the store because all we had was tuna. I can't give Pudge tuna.
It's just like, that's what I mean. Like, clearly, the writers in this movie, I don't think, like, you know what this just came to me. You know what this movie feels like? It feels like AI created this script based on the original, but not understanding the narrative through lines and characters. That's what this feels like. Because that right there, I was like, oh, they did the sandwich bit. Good. Okay, we're off to a decent enough start. And then it never comes up again. And that's central to Lilo.
Yeah.
Like in this movie, she's still weird, but she's kind of weird just because. And in the original movie, they explain it to a point. Like, yeah, Lilo's a strange kid, but it influences how she behaves and it influences the story going forward. Whereas in this movie, Lilo's just kind of weird because, oh, she's a quirky kid, you know?
And I don't know why I missed this part, but like this part, the part where like Myrtle's kind of being like, I'll just say it, a bitch to Lilo, and like Lilo like tries to go at her and just grabs her arm, and then she looked at him angry, and then he's like, okay.
Yeah, no, and Lilo just straight up assaults her in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, like it's not the same level of violence. Like
No.
Lilo pushes her off of a 4-foot stage, and
Yeah.
depending how she lands, that could end very badly for a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of like, and first of all, witnesses, Lilo, witnesses,
Yeah.
read the room, Lilo.
Right.
Like, and they make it a cute, funny gag in the original when Stitch takes the camera and you get the shots of Lilo kind
Yeah.
of beating. Like, but how in that kind of a fight, how much harm can a 6-year-old do? But pushing somebody off a stage, like, yeah,
You could have maimed her.
I mean, at the very least, broken a nose, broken an arm.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's so like, yeah, I understand why the adults in the room would be upset by that happening.
Yeah.
Also, this is just a film continuity error, and my editor brain was like, "This is bad. This is bad. This is bad." So, when when she first arrives to do the hula thing, she's not dressed like the other girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy even says, "Go get changed," but then they all turn like they're immediately going out. Like Lilo doesn't have time to change, but then they cut to them doing the performance, and she's changed. When did this happen?
When did that happen?
When did this happen?
The veil between her world and the other realm has faded, unleashing magic into the lives of ordinary citizens. Awakening from a 4-year coma, Tori James discovers a world transformed. For some, like Tori, the unveiling ignites hidden abilities. With her expertise in classical languages, she's drawn into a world of thieves and magic. Join Tori on her magical journey in Book 1 of the Unveiled book series, Revival. Unveil your destiny.
And then the fact, too, that there's a lot of time spent where Lilo is by herself, and yet Nani has to take her with her to go job hunting when obviously that will be problematic. But there's in both movies, too, there's a lot of time where Lilo is by herself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, don't think about it too hard.
And that fight scene between her and Nani was just weak. I'll say that now. It was much better in the...
Because it was a cheap imitation of the first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first one was cute and charming and funny, and it just ironically felt more real.
Yeah.
What are they going to do next? Remake The Emperor's New Groove?
No, please don't put that out there.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it, Haley. And it's going to be weak sauce, and they're going to probably give the role of Cusco to, let's see, who's the most annoying person? They're going to give it to... Actually, they're going to give it to fucking... Why am I blanking on his name? Olaf. Josh Gad.
Josh Gad.
Yeah.
But isn't he going to already be Quasimodo?
Ooh. Yes, I think that's right. Okay, hot take. I don't like Josh Gad as Quasimodo.
I don't either.
It's a singing voice. It's not Tom Hulse, who does at least his singing. I think he does a speaking voice too, but he at least does his singing. Holy crap.
Yeah.
It's wow. And Josh Gad is good, don't get me wrong, but it's a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real different animal.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope I'm proven wrong. I just don't think Josh Gad has the right take on it, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough act to follow, though.
I feel like, though, after the not so successful success of Snow White, they canceled the live actions for now.
Oh, I hope so. Oh man. Oh boy, do I hope so.
Because they canceled Tangled.
Oh, thank God. Thanks, Snow White.
Because So I also heard rumors that Florence Pugh was going to play Rapunzel.
I did hear that. I did. Well, I also heard a rumor that Cynthia Erivo. No, I'm sorry, that wasn't Rapunzel. What's Cynthia Erivo doing? She got cast in something.
Uh,
I can't remember.
I know that she just got cast as Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh no, that's it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yep.
So, all right, I guess that's a thing you can do.
And Adam Lambert got cast as Judas.
Cast Adam Lambert did for Jesus Christ Superstar?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. I mean, don't get me wrong, he'd do it, but like, give him Jesus.
Yeah.
Adam Lambert could slay that thing. He could crucify that role.
Oh God.
The Inquisition.
No,
I mean, he'll nail it.
My friend Jake, everybody.
I mean, that performance is just going to be up there.
Like, just to give Adam Lambert Judas, though, of anything.
That feels like a role that he's so underserving.
Not to mention, but it if I remember correctly, isn't Judas in that musical like not even like only in like half of the play?
I don't even think half. It's been a minute. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, that seems like a really well. Not to mention, like this, which don't get me wrong, I have an issue with them casting a woman as Jesus, but it's not even that. It's that Cynthia, like, it's a different vibe.
Yeah,
it's the same reason I don't like Josh Gad as Quasimodo. It's a different vibe. Because like to say Cynthia Erivo can't sing would be a foolish statement on its face. Jesus Christ Superstar is a rock opera, and it has a very, very, very distinct sound. And just so everybody knows, I hate that musical. It's one of the most annoying musicals that's ever been made. But Adam Lambert, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh, I hate it too.
It's a terrible music. It's horrible.
It's too long.
But Adam Lambert, I'm not gonna lie, I'd watch it if Adam Lambert were Jesus.
Yeah.
I'd stick it out at least for the performances. It's a really weird show.
I didn't love it because there was no intermission when it came to my city, and
I don't think it has an intermission.
It doesn't have an intermission. It's 2 hours worth. And I'm like, okay, one, I have to go to the bathroom so bad.
Intermissions are essential. I wish they bring intermissions back to movies.
Yeah,
like pick a spot in the story because everybody, on a balance of probability, everybody's going to have to go pee at least once.
Yeah. Waitress the musical had an intermission.
Yeah, well, most do. Like, right?
Like that movie had an intermission.
Oh, did it? Okay, that's cool. Yeah, they need to bring that back. Intermissions need to come back.
Yeah,
especially these like 3+ hour. Like, don't get me wrong, because I still sing the praises of Dune and Dune Part 2, but like an intermission would have been nice.
And I
sitting there and I'm sitting there in borderline pain, like I don't want to miss what's happening at a certain point, and then you're like, oh, I should have gone 5 minutes ago.
I still maintain the fact that my sister did not like part 2.
I mean, I don't see how that's possible, but everybody has different tastes, and that's why Snow White live action exists.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone actually liked it, but
I'm just okay. Like, yes, Stitch wasn't as terrible, but it was still kind of bad. But at least it made the money that Snow White lost.
Well, yeah, but that goes back to this live action wasn't as offensive. I'm not going to say it wasn't offensive. It was a head scratcher as kind of like a, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
But it wasn't offensive. It didn't actively spit in the face of the first one. It got it. It had a questionable take, but I wouldn't say that it actually spit in the face of the original.
Yeah. And like I said, at least it like made the rest of the money that Snow White lost.
Right. So picking up the slack, Stitch. Good job. Yeah, I
Uh,
don't know. I mean, I guess my whole thing is like, listen, if you want to go see Lilo and Stitch in the theater, absolutely go see it. Have fun. I'm always a fan of people going to the movies because
yeah.
I want movie theaters to make money. And yeah, so ultimately it's a good thing. But I'm also in the camp of we need to send messages to filmmakers,
Mm,
and you send that message with your wallet, unfortunately.
yeah. Although I did see a couple okay-ish commercials for like the movies that are coming out. The
Oh,
Freakier
I popped hard for Freakier Friday.
Freakier
I'm
I'm
so
so
stoked for
excited.
that.
I'm so excited. I'm doing an episode. I'm doing that episode.
Oh, we're absolutely, absolutely you should. And I'm also just happy for Lindsay Lohan
Yeah.
because she got now like I get it. She made some questionable choices, but I feel like she just got dragged through the mud for the better
Yeah.
part of a decade. And
Yeah.
I'm happy that she's kind of she's come out of that, but she's having a resurgence.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy for her.
Mm.
She seems like she's doing a lot better. So good for her, and I will
Zoo
absolutely go see this movie.
Zootopia 2 is just
We'll see, because
mm,
Zootopia was really good.
that commercial was just weird.
That commercial is a byproduct of it. Still, they've done barely any work on this movie.
Yeah.
That was very much a concept trailer.
That's
Um,
what that's what I was thinking. I was like, I barely saw anything.
that's them letting you know that, hey, this is a thing we're doing. Is yeah, you're right. It was a really weird commercial, but
Mm.
it was
With the
very weird.
with like the little piano guys doing the piano. I'm like, what am I watching right now?
That was kind of cute, but yeah, no, I think Zootopia is actually an underrated movie. So
I thought
I'm actually
I said like I told my mom I was like I did someone spike my fries with like something or something? Or I'm seeing something.
so here's because I'll admit it was actually a YouTube video that did this for me.
Mhm.
I saw Zootopia the first time and I'm like, it's okay. Like it's certainly not bad, but I wouldn't say it's a great film. What made me think it was a great film was I actually watched the episode that Cinema Therapy did on it on YouTube. And then it went completely over my head like a dummy. And they made me realize that that movie is all about implicit bias and it analyzes it in a way that's not overly preachy, which is the problem when you're talking about things like bias and implicit bias because of the political climate we have today. Oftentimes people feel like they're being attacked when it's like, no, 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 no. Because Zootopia makes the point that everyone does it, regardless of what side you're on, because Judy does it. And everyone, that's what that whole movie is about. And it does it in a way that's not going to offend anybody. It's not going to offend anybody because we're talking about animals. And they do it in a way that's really, really good because not only in Zootopia do you have the dichotomy of herbivores and carnivores, but you have a scale thing too. You have animals that are smaller. So they have their own sort of areas, but they have to exist in the wider world. And it's a really interesting take. And plus, Jason Bateman is just always a treat. So
I like Jason Bateman.
why don't you like Jason? Okay, you know what, Haley? You
What?
know what?
What?
No, you know
What?
what? I don't understand, but you know what? Everybody has their thing, and your thing is it's not the best thing,
I
but
don't
it's a thing.
I don't love Jason Bateman, but like
Why don't you love Jason Bateman? I love Jason Bateman. Okay, to be fair, I'm a really big fan of like really dry humor and dry
mm,
delivery, and Jason Bateman is just like, mwah. He does it like nobody else. Well, not
um
nobody else, but very few people.
it didn't well I'm trying to figure out what I saw Jason Bateman in. Because maybe I'm like getting confused with something.
Maybe that might have been like my Jimmy Fallon and Chris Kattan gaff. So I got them confused. I'm like, Jimmy Fallon fucking sucks. And it was like, no, I'm actually talking about Chris Kattan. Just see, have you seen? I'm just gonna couples retreat, identity thief, dodgeball. Um, Why am I blanking on Jason Bateman movies?
Okay, then yeah, never mind. I do kind of like him.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, you were getting him confused with somebody else.
Damn it. I don't like Shakira though. I will say that I do not like Shakira.
I'm I'm indifferent about Shakira.
I don't like her voice. I don't like her music. I don't.
I will say it's better in Spanish.
Is it?
Her music should be the way it's arranged, the style of it, it should be in Spanish. It's significantly better in Spanish.
Yeah.
I will say that. Musically, the way the rhythm goes, it should be in Spanish. It's a different.
Yeah.
There's a lot of her songs that are kind of like okay in English, but then the Spanish version is like really, really good. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get it now. Which makes sense because she started her career in Colombia, I think, but South America. So
I wonder what possessed them to like give her a role.
at the time, she was huge.
Yeah.
It made sense. It made sense. Gazelle is kind of weird, but hey.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, why? But why? Why Gazelle?
maybe it was like, Shakira, what's your favorite animal? Well, I like the gazelle. Okay, make her a gazelle. And just call her Gazelle. Get it? Because it's kind of like Giselle. It's funny. Even though I don't think her name's Giselle. Although hang on, we're gonna look
I
up
think
what
it
Shakira's.
is.
I think okay, then that makes perfect sense. Then, hang on, Shakira. No, her name is Shakira.
In
Her actual given name is Shakira Isabel Mebarak Ripple.
Okay, so it is Shakira.
It is Shakira.
Okay. But isn't her character named Giselle?
Yeah, her character's name is Gazelle, but she's a Gazelle.
Okay. Because I was like, that would have been really fucking funny if her last name was Giselle Gazelle.
You know, honestly, what they should have done, they should have given the role to Seal and had him been a seal. That would have been fucking funny.
That commercial kind of
That
was weird.
That was awesome.
That was weird.
That's such a millennial joke, though. Like,
Yeah,
that was solely for my generation.
Like, I died laughing. I was like,
Yeah,
what the fuck?
I was like, somebody finally did it. Oh my goodness. But yeah, so Lilo and Stitch, I think overall I'd give it like a C minus. I'm not going to give it an A for effort because it didn't seem like there was too much effort put into this by anyone.
Yeah.
But,
I'd give it like a D.
see, I gave Snow White like a D minus.
Yeah. Oh, I gave that shit an F.
It's really, it's really hard for me to give a movie an F though, because like you just have to fail at everything. And I mean, by virtue of that movie getting made, you deserve at least a little credit.
No.
I mean, they finished it.
They finished.
Kind of. Sort of, in a way, in a manner of speaking.
But they ruined it kind of too.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, it gets an F because I'm like, what can I say positively about that? And I'm like, no, nothing. Oh, Rachel Zegler's singing voice. But that has nothing to do with the movie. So yeah, fuck it, F. It gets an F.
F.
Big fat F. Yeah, Lilo and Stitch gets a C minus. This is like, because if I were Lilo and Stitch's teacher, I would say, redo the assignment. I know you can do better.
You can do better, baby.
You can do better. Oh, so that's one thing I did want to touch on, the laws of physics. And this is a moment. This happens a lot in this movie, actually, where there's a moment that the filmmakers thought was going to be really impactful and just came off really stupid. So when Lilo and Stitch fall out of the spaceship and they fall in the water, and to be fair, the moment where Stitch pulls her hand away, that was a good movement. That was a good moment. And it was immediately ruined by people being dumb. So Nani and the crew pull up. They have surfboards, plural. They have multiple. And Nani starts just swimming. Dumb. Very stupid. You have a surfboard. You can actually get out there faster and then have something to put Lilo on once you get her. What's your plan? Grab her and swim back to shore while trying to keep her, which, I mean, to be fair, Nani can probably do. But if you have a surfboard, which is not going to slow you down at all, in fact, it's probably going to help you. It's just, it doesn't make sense. Now, thankfully, David thinks and brings his surfboard and gets there exactly the same time Nani does. But so then they get Lilo on the board, and Lilo's fine. She's conscious, she's good. And then she yells, Stitch, rightfully so, because we don't want Stitch to drown. Why did okay, this is going to get me canceled, but David is stronger than Nani. Okay? Why didn't Nani just look at David and say, let's go try to grab him? Now, I guess maybe you can make the case that Nani didn't know that he was going to be heavy. But she tries, fails, and comes back to the surface and says, screw it, we can't do it. At that point, why would you not ask David to try to help you? Because Nani does go back down and then says, fuck it, I'm a walk.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, why are you walking on the ground?
Well, physically possible because Stitch is weighing her down.
Yeah.
So I get that, but they're not exactly close to shore. I mean, they're close enough, but I don't, which maybe, okay, I'm going to chalk that one up to as a maybe. Like, maybe Nani can hold her breath for that long while exerting that much effort. I doubt it. I kind of doubt it, but I mean, I'll chalk that up to a maybe. Oh, also, that's not how defibrillators work. And why does David have a defibrillator? He's not a doctor. That's not equipment that you can just get. That's also not what they're used for.
Also, why did you use the car to?
That's not how this works. His problem is that he wasn't breathing. That's not what defibrillators are used for.
But then they also clip the car to
It's
him.
like, Jesus, you trying to torture him? Like, what, does he owe you money? I saw that, I was just like, are you kidding? Like, oh wow, that was
the jumper cables onto his arms. I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah, I guess. Like, and they never make the connection that electricity somehow, and because electricity doesn't, Stitch can withstand electricity, but it doesn't help him. Yeah, so that was a choice that they made. Don't really know why, but I mean, I don't.
It was funny though when he like threw up after.
That would, okay, as a dog owner, that's hilarious. That's a sound we've all heard before. It's usually at 3 a.m. when you're like, the fuck, no. So yeah, that was a very accurate sound effect. They honestly kind of salvaged that scene for me because I was like, yep, that's true.
Then like he coughed up the picture and it was like and Nani goes, okay, we're gonna have to watch this first.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that. Yeah, and that was a sweet moment. That I would say was one. I mean, it doesn't have much impact because it doesn't take up a lot of screen time. But I mean, that's a moment where they tried to give it some soul, but they just couldn't resist, and they couldn't resist making the joke. Which that's almost all movies now.
Yeah.
Like American movies, because I will defer. Godzilla -1 is a good example of a movie that's not afraid to be sincere. And wow, Hollywood is just so scared to be sincere. They always have to break the tension with some kind of joke, and it's so infuriating. Like, it's just, they can't let emotions sit still. And I don't know why, because that's why we go to the movies. I don't get it. They just can't. Ever since Marvel came along, and now there's a formula. Like, I'm so paranoid about the Superman movie because everybody's like, oh, it looks great. And I'm like, does it though? Like, it's James Gunn, guys. Like, we know what we're going to get here. And why Nathan Fillion has a fucking chili bowl in that movie? I don't. I'm skeptical. I don't think this is going to be a good movie.
what do you think our next victim of live action movies are gonna be?
Well, hopefully none. Hopefully they've learned their lesson, but unfortunately it seems like well, has Lilo and Stitch made a profit yet though? Probably not. Not yet. It might.
Look, I don't know if it did or not.
But I mean, I suppose you can make the case that like there are going to be so many parents that are like, "Oh, that wasn't as good as the original. You should watch the original." Yeah, we'll sign up for Disney Plus. We'll just keep it for a month. We'll just keep it for a month so you can watch Lilo and Stitch. And then 6 months later, they're like, "Oh yeah, we have Disney Plus."
Oh shit. It made like 610.8 million globally.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Throw Eaton. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So yeah, it made money.
Yeah.
Because what would it cost? Like 130?
Yeah. I believe.
Oh, huh. There's no
Yeah.
way it was 200. Yeah, because like a Marvel film was be close to the 200 mark. So Lilo and Stitch is not getting that kind of budget. But just going to point out Godzilla minus one, $15 million, and it won the Oscar for VFX. Suck it, Hollywood.
Yeah, it only cost like 100 million to make.
Like I can't stress this enough because I just said it, but I'm going to reiterate it. I'm sure you haven't seen it, Haley, but Godzilla minus one, $15 million,
Mm.
won the Oscar for VFX. It's a giant radioactive lizard that looks fucking real. And Pleakley, in a movie that cost $100 million, looked like that. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. They should have given this movie to Japan to make. It would have been 10 times better.
Why did Bleakley and Jumbo look terrible? That's all I'm gonna say.
Because I don't know. Like I can explain the why, but I can't explain why the why is why it is. Yeah, why is the whying? Okay, so I'm gonna use. I know this is a hill I'm refusing to get off, but for those of you who have seen Godzilla minus one, you know how good that movie looks now. One of the things, and to be fair, the pay scale is different in the Japanese film industry, but it's not that different.
Yeah.
Like they did their VFX in-house, and I'm guessing that probably got rid of a lot of administrative costs, made everything more efficient. They were able to employ fewer artists to do the same amount of work, and it looked amazing. It looks photorealistic in daylight shots, which for those of you, a lot of times, not so much now, but in daylight shots, that's where you're going to see the CGI errors. That's where the errors are going to show. It's easier to hide stuff in nighttime scenes or when it's dark, which is probably why 80% of Hollywood movies are too damn dark. You can't see anything. It's like, oh, they're not going to see the bad CGI if they can't see the movie. No, daylight scenes, this thing looks daylight scenes swimming in water. It looks photorealistic. Like you would swear they were using a puppet, and they're not. $15 million. Like, okay. Like you can do these things. You just have to be creative and innovative and figure out. It also helps when you can shoot what you can practically and in the real world and then augment with CGI. And even when you have CGI characters, motion capture is becoming a lot more utilized thanks in part to Avatar, and a lot easier to create those characters if you have even just like the structural basis to base it on. I don't think they did that with Lilo and Stitch in this movie. I don't think Stitch had a motion capture source.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But yeah, it exists. It's a thing. But Hollywood's got to get over this weird thing. It was like everybody's trying to get to the $1 billion mark, and it's like, no, you can make little movies. It's okay. It's fine. Look at a Goofy movie, Disney. That was a little movie. That was supposed to be an even littler movie. That was supposed to be just a home video release, wasn't it, originally?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just tested so well that they put it in theaters, and people are still watching it.
I really hope they don't like look at the Goofy movie and be like next live action. Like,
You couldn't do it live action though. You could do it CG, but I think even Disney has enough sense to not do that with like the tour.
mm.
Well, I say that, and then Mickey Mouse Clubhouse exists. Never mind. Which I'm given to understand. I've never seen it. I just know it exists, but I'm given to understand that's popular with the children. So,
Mm.
but children are entertained by anything. So, but hey, it gets Bill Farmer work. So,
Yeah.
not going to hate on it.
Yeah.
Because he's an awesome person.
He really is.
He's such an awesome guy. Like I'm editing that episode, I'm like, this dude is phenomenal. This guy.
It's been weeks since I interviewed him, and I'm still pinching myself.
I'm still pinching myself, and I didn't even talk to him. I'm just like, I edited a podcast with Bill Farmer, and he does the voice, which is weird. Okay, that's surreal.
Yeah.
Is Gorge, and
I
it's him.
held back a scream because I was like, oh my god, you just did the voice like 500 times right now.
Well, and what's funny is then when he talks in his normal voice, you can still kind of hear it.
Yeah.
Which is weird because for him, it's just a different projection of his voice, but for everybody else, it's an impression.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I guess it is an impression because he was mimicking the original. But like, trust me, the Goofy that the viewer knows, that's Bill Farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lilo and Stitch. Just watch the original.
Just don't waste your money going to that.
Yeah, it's already made its money. You have no obligation to.
You have no obligation. I went so you didn't have to.
Go see the Karate Kid Legend. Actually, I'm kind of nervous about that movie too, because I'm hearing things that make me concerned.
Justin told me he was like, I'm gonna go see that instead.
I mean, I need to go see it because we're gonna review it on Average Intelligence, but
yeah,
I don't know when I'm gonna be able to go see it, but I must make it happen. Any other thoughts?
I wish this had alcohol in it because of this movie.
I mean, there's a lot of theaters now where you can get alcohol.
Yeah, I should have got some.
Maybe that's what Lilo and Stitch needed, just a stiff drink.
Before you went to go see it, just.
Well, I don't drink, but I can imagine it would have softened. It would have dulled the pain.
It would have dulled the pain just a little bit.
You drink enough, and then you might have actually laughed in that movie.
Also, Justice for Gantu.
Yeah, Justice for Gantu. He wasn't there. And Zach Galifianakis, like, could really... He should not be proud of what he put in that.
I mean, I like the Hangover.
Oh, I hate the Hangover. I hate them so much. Yes, because it breaks the cardinal rule of filmmaking. Show, don't tell.
Yeah, I can see that.
They show us everything that happened at the end, and I'm like, I'm laughing at the photo montage, but throughout the rest of the movie, I'm like, this is supposed to be funny? Like, Bradley Cooper's funny in that movie before the shenanigans, but after that, it's just kind of like, why? And then the bit with the baby, I was just kind of like, that
was dumb.
That's not funny. Like, it's kind of fucking gross, and
yeah,
like,
I didn't like that.
Yeah, I didn't. And to be honest, that kind of took me out of it. I know people love it, but I was not one of them.
I don't like Zach Galifianakis anyway, so
I don't either. I am not a great fan.
And this just really took me out of it too.
Yeah, this was not a good movie.
Not a good movie.
Not very good. The first one that it's based on is amazing.
Yeah.
So watch that one.
And this one is a pale imitation.
I mean, that's the operative word, imitation.
Yeah.
It's not an adaptation at all. This is an
Yeah.
imitation.
No.
Because at least you can at least say that Snow White was an adaptation. It was a
Yeah.
bad adaptation, but it was an adaptation.
Yeah.
This was just a remake, and a mediocre one at that.
Yeah.
It had nothing more to say. It was essentially the same story without some characters and adding others for really no good reason.
And like the reason why they didn't add Gantu, I heard, was because they tried to and it just didn't work or something, or I don't know. Or like they didn't have enough money to do that. I don't know. I can't remember what they said.
I mean, that I can see, because you have one fully CGI character, which, believe it or not, that's incredibly expensive, and then you've got multiple other computer generated characters, which, trust me, they could have looked a lot worse.
Yeah.
At least the bulk of the time they actually look and feel like they have weight and mass in the shot.
Yeah.
So that's good. Pleakley's eye just didn't do it for me.
That was gross.
Yeah, it was kind of, and the lack of Elvis, which, this is funny coming, like I said, from a non-Elvis fan, the lack of Elvis was kind of a letdown.
Yeah. I mean, and also like I did love the councilwoman though. Because they also I think they got the original voice for the councilwoman too.
I feel like I had read that the original voice actress had died, so
Okay.
I could be wrong. I feel like I read that somewhere.
All right. I'm gonna look though. But yeah, any final thoughts?
I mean, like I said before, if you want to see it, go for it. You're not gonna. I mean, you might regret it mildly, but you're not gonna lose sleep over it. You're not gonna be infuriated like I was after I watched Snow White. Like, you're not gonna be mad
Yeah.
that you paid money to see it.
Go watch that podcast I did with him. That you'll love.
Snow White is bad. Lilo and Stitch is just lazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at least it has cute moments, right?
Chris
Stitch
Saunders,
is genuinely good.
Chris
Yeah.
Saunders should have said no.
Yeah. But no, Stitch is legitimately good in the movie. He's probably the only consistently good part throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
But but again, it's just a rehash of the original. It's the same voice actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
it's just it's kind of like, oh, okay. Well, yeah,
That's all.
that's a as Critical Drinker would say, that's a thing you can do, I guess.
And like I'm sitting there after the movie's over. I'm like, all right, I saw
Yeah,
it.
no, it was just kind of like, all right.
I saw it.
That is kind of just like, in one word, that essentially summarizes Lilo and Stitch live action remake is all right. Cool. So you want to go get food or just go home, or like, nobody left that theater being like, "Oh my god, that was amazing."
I know.
Everybody's just kind of like, "Oh."
theater. No one left my theater either. Like, oh my god.
No, and you know what's funny? Now that I mention it, I didn't even hear any laughter. Not that I can remember.
Me neither.
Yeah, they was just kind of flat.
Like I kind of chuckled a little bit at some stuff, but I didn't like.
I think I got like a chuckle, maybe two,
Yeah.
but nothing. Oh yeah, I did chuckle with the picture moment there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that comes from dog ownership. That's not Stitch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I had a dog, may she rest in peace. That was like that's always a funny kind of.
Oh, that's
moment.
that's an alarm bell. It's
Yeah.
just like when you see the memes. If you're a dog or cat owner, you see the memes on Facebook. You're like, yep, yep,
They get bad.
yep. That is true.
Anyway, like I want to thank you guys for watching and heed our warning. Just don't see this.
If you want to expose your children to Lilo and Stitch, just show them the original.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's better. It's
Yeah.
way better.
Yeah. So that being said, I'm off. And I will see you guys next time. I'm sorry. Bye, guys.